Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I'm finally filming my little mini Blackheart Beauty Elements palette video that I kind of promised. I feel like it's been a few weeks. I don't know what happened with these guys. They kind of took a little detour with the post office, I guess because of the Christmas holidays, but they took forever to get to me. And honestly, I had gone into a Hot Topic sometime after I'd ordered them and saw the palettes and I was like, man, if I hadn't already paid for these, I would have just picked them up right now. But they're here now. I have filmed a look with each of these palettes. I'm gonna go ahead and put all 4 looks into one video just because it took so long to get these out. So I might zip through them a little faster than I normally do. I haven't exactly decided how I'm going to edit this yet. And then I thought it would be fun, since this is technically Zodiac themed, to use the Blackheart Beauty Zodiac lip collection for each of the palettes. So it tells you on each palette which sign is, like a fire sign, for example, is Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. So I picked one of those 3 shades to do my lips. So I just thought that was like a fun little touch, because I have still seen the lip collection in stores. I'm not sure if it's still online. They might just be a little bit depleted right now with Christmas in general, because quite honestly, I looked for these guys online just now and couldn't find them. But I don't believe that they're out of stock for good. I think Hot Topic, when they do go out of stock, sometimes they'll just remove it from the website, but then it'll pop back up again. But I do know I have still seen these in stores recently, both the palettes and the little Blackheart Beauty Zodiac lip collection. So I'm sure a lot of stuff will come back in stock. So I highly doubt that these were so popular that they sold out and they're not gonna come back. Blackheart is their kind of staple brand, so they tend to always carry the Blackheart products. So let's get into the details about the products. These are 4 little bitty 8-pan palettes. These are obviously Zodiac themed. You've got your air signs, water signs, fire signs, and earth signs. It does give you some details on the palette. For example, this is the water signs. So it tells you water signs are Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. And it gives you kind of some of their, I guess, personality traits, where it says they're intense, dreamy, and ambitious. And obviously that's also how they named their shadows. They named the shadows things like dangerous, intuitive, mysterious, things that fall under the category of a water sign or an air sign, for example. So these little palettes retail for $6.90, and you can of course get them on sale. I think I paid $4 for them. You can even get them, I think, for $3 sometimes. So just keep an eye out for sales, as I always say. Let's go through each palette one by one. So first up, we have the air palette, very gorgeous. This is for Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. It says they are grounded, loyal, and useful. So this is what the palette looks like on the inside. So it's a very beautiful, soft, neutral palette. I love the green in there, but you're really going for just more of a softer neutral look with this palette. So next up we have air. So your air signs are Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra. And it says some key traits are strong, powerful, and clarity. So this is what their palette looks like. So it definitely leans more towards the purple tones. It's got some really gorgeous purple shimmers in it. I found the palette to be a little bit deeper than I was expecting. I thought it was gonna be a little bit more light and airy with the purple tones, but my look ended up a little smoky. Next up, we have fire sign, my sign. So of course you have the Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, and some of the key traits are dynamic, pure, and passionate. So this is what this palette looks like right here. Of course, you've got some gorgeous red tones. It's obviously a bit more of a warm toned palette. I like that there's like a little hint of purple, because you kind of think of like a smoky fire and like burning and stuff like that. I really like this palette a lot. It's probably my favorite. And last but not least, you have the water palette. So your water signs are Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. And then some of their traits are intense, dreamy, and ambitious. And then these are the colors, absolutely gorgeous blue tones. I love this little green guy right here. Of course, you have some really beautiful shimmers, and I love that you get the really beautiful sparkly pop with Mysterious, the white shade. So let's go ahead and jump into the looks, and then I'll do a little recap at the end to let you know if I noticed anything specific with the palettes and which ones are my favorites. First up is the Earth palette. So I'm starting out with the shade Loyal on a fluffy brush and just running this through the crease. It's a pretty light shade, so it's kind of an unnecessary step. I'm then going to top it with the shade Grounded. This one shows up a lot better. I'm just working this through the crease and up onto the brow bone, and of course onto that outer V area. Then into the shade Practical. I'm focusing this on the outer corner of the eye and then just dragging the leftovers into the crease, but I really want that outer corner portion to be the smokiest. Next, going into Builder with a more dense brush, I'm really packing this onto that outer portion of the lid, kind of at a diagonal, and then smoking it out into that little outer V area. And then whatever's left on the brush, I'm dragging through the crease very lightly. I'm just really making sure that outer corner is built up. Next, going into Real with a fluffy brush, I'm just blending over the top to make sure things stay nice and light and blended. Then I'm using my Tarte Shape Tape to cut out half the crease at a bit of a diagonal and topping that with the shade Useful. I'm using a dry brush here and just packing this onto the tacky concealer so it really helps the color to grip. Then going into Practical with a tiny detailed brush, I'm just making sure that that cut crease area is nice and crisp. Next, going into a mixture of Builder and Practical, I'm just kind of blending where that pink shade meets the brown, just to make sure it's like a subtle transition, and then going back over the top of it with Useful, again, just to make sure that they blend nicely together. Next up is Stable on a wet pencil brush, and I'm lining the entire lower lash line with this and really kind of smoking it out and bringing it down a good bit. Then I'm going underneath that with Loyal on a larger pencil brush, again, just smoking that underneath the color. And then I'm going into Solid for an inner corner highlight. This isn't quite the bright inner corner pop that I enjoy, so I'm dipping into Juicy from the Be Sweet highlighter palette from Bombshell Cosmetica, and that's more my speed. Now just adding a green pencil into the waterline, and of course, liner, mascara, and lashes off camera. I am using the Ardell Wispies for something just a little lighter. For lips on this one, I'm using Taurus from the Blackheart Beauty Astrology Lip Collection. And this is the finished Earth Elements look. Now into the Air palette. I'm starting off this look with the shade Powerful through the crease. It's just another very light transition shade. Then I'm jumping right into Truth and just adding this to the brow bone for a little brightness. Now into Strong. This one I'm being very light-handed with because if you're not careful, it can turn a little gray. So I'm just lightly working this through the crease and then kind of bringing it up onto the brow bone a little bit. And then of course out onto that outer V portion, really kind of winging it out and making it nice and smoky. Then going into Take Action, I'm really packing this onto that outer portion of the lid. I want it to be nice and smoky on that outer portion, and I'm just barely dragging it through the crease a little bit. Then with my finger, I'm taking the shade Adventurous, and I'm adding this to the very inner portion of my lid. And then for the center, I'm using the shade Clarity, so I'm just gonna pop this right into the center of the lid. And then lastly, I'm using Understanding and packing this right onto the outer portion of the lid. Then I'm just kind of going back through and intensifying those first two shades. Now going into Advanced on a flat liner brush, I'm just lining the entire lower lash line with this shade. And then with a pencil brush, I'm going into Adventurous and running that kind of on top of the black, but also underneath it, just making it nice and smoky and purple. Then jumping into the Anastasia Aurora Glow Kit, I'm mixing Luna and Spectra together for a nice bright inner corner highlight because you really don't have anything other than the white shade and it's not bright enough. Now just setting a black pencil into the waterline, and again, I'm going to do liner, mascara, and lashes off camera. This time I'm using the House of Lashes Iconic Lights. And I did forget to show it, but the lip I used in this one is another Blackheart Beauty lip. This one is the shade Aquarius. And this is the finished Air Element look. Moving along to the Fire palette, I'm gonna start this one out with the shade Temperamental, just another very light transition shade through the crease. And then I'm jumping into the shade Dynamic. This shade is really pretty. I love the pink tone, especially over top of the kind of tan color I put down already. Just putting this through the crease, a little up onto the brow bone, and then onto the outer portion of the lid. Then going into the shade Warm, I'm really focusing this directly into the crease and then also onto that outer portion of the lid, making it nice and smoky and winged out. Then going back into Dynamic just to blend over the top of everything. And then into Warm with a tiny detail brush just to really make that crease as intense as possible. Now going into Destructive with my finger, I'm packing this onto the outer and inner portion of the lid. And then for the center, I'm using Pure, and I'm just, again, packing this onto the lid. And then I'm gonna go back in with a brush, a wet brush, with both of these shades, just to really get all the way up to the crease area and make sure they're intense enough. Then jumping into the shade Reignite with a very dense blending brush, I'm kind of lightly patting this and then blending it into the outer portion and inner portion of the lid as well as the crease, just to make it a little bit deeper. And then going into Pure with a wet pencil brush, I'm using this to line the entire lower lash line. I absolutely love this color. It's probably my favorite color in the entire palette. And then I am using a little bit of Reignite and Destructive just to make it deeper on the very inner and outer portion of the lower lash line. Then lining the upper lash line with a black pencil. I'm doing kind of a wing structure, and then I'm going to take a little pencil brush and smudge that liner out. And then I did spray the pencil brush with some water, and I'm going to use Reignite, and I'm just placing that over the top of that line that I created. So I'm making kind of a smoky purple liner. Again, just making it look nice and smoky and dragging it a little bit onto that lower lash line. Then using a red pencil in the waterline. Then mascara and lashes off camera. I'm using the Ardell Wispies again just for something light. And then I'm popping into the Collective Cosmetics palette. I'm using the shade Sundial, which is their highlighter for my inner corner highlight. I love this because it has like a beautiful pink tone to it, and I think it went really nicely with the look. And for lips on this one, I'm using Sagittarius, which is one of their matte lip colors. And this is the finished Fire Element look. And finally, the water palette. So for this one, I'm starting out with the shade Emotional through the crease. This is just another light transition shade again. Then I'm going over the top of that with the shade Intense, working this on the outer portion and then also through the crease, just building it up lightly because it is like a gray color. I don't want it to get too muddy. Then going into the shade Dangerous, and I'm working on packing this onto the outer portion of the lid and very lightly dragging it into the crease, working it onto the brow bone area just slightly so that that blue kind of peeks over the top of everything, and also smoking it out on the outer V, again just being very light-handed. Then going into the shade Dreamy with my finger, I'm just packing this onto the outer and inner portion of the lid and then also connecting it in the center, kind of like in the crease area. And I did decide to use some concealer to kind of cut out that center portion of the halo so that it had a nice tacky base. And then I'm topping it with Ambitious, again with a dry brush, just packing it on. Then going back into Dangerous and Ambitious with a dense blending brush, I'm just blending out the edges of that halo. And then going into a Dangerous with a detailed brush, really making sure the crease is nice and dark and blue. And then jumping back into Dreamy with a wet flat brush, I'm really intensifying where it meets the halo and the crease area. Then going into Mysterious, I'm patting this over the top of that center portion. It just gives it a little bit more of a bright sparkle. And then going into Intuitive with a wet pencil brush, I'm running this on the entire lower lash line and really blending it downward. And then just lightly using Emotional right underneath that to make sure it's nice and smoky. And for the inner corner, I'm using Ambitious, and then I'm topping it with Mysterious so that it has a nice bright pop. For this look, I'm using a nice metallic blue liner in the waterline, and then of course, liner, mascara, and lashes off camera. I'm using the Iconic Lights again. And then for the lips on this look, I'm using the shade Cancer, which is one of the lip glosses. And this is the finished Water Element look. Alright guys, so those are all of the looks. Which one is your favorite? I don't know. I think I am between either this look or the fire sign look because, I mean, come on, it's beautiful and it's red and I'm an Aries. But yeah, I wanted to finish up the video by showing you all of them side by side just so you can get a good feel for what you would be getting if you were to purchase all of them. Okay, there we go. Sorry. Yeah, this is what they all look like side by side. You definitely can see some overlapping shades. I don't think you would need all of them. You definitely have kind of that same very light tan beige color in every single palette. The water one is the only one where the color gets a little bit deeper. I feel like you don't even notice it on some of these other ones. Like it doesn't show up very well on my skin tone. On this water palette over here though, you definitely can see it a bit more. Both these palettes have a lovely matte white shade, which really doesn't stand out that much. I mean, I used it to kind of brighten up my brow bone area, but it's not necessary. But other than that, you do have some variations to the colors. So I do think that if you wanted to get all 4 of them, you could definitely use them all and get different looks. You wouldn't have too many repeated colors. Do I think you need all of them? No. If you're gonna ask me which ones are my favorite, it's these 2 right here. I absolutely love the Fire Sign palette and then the Water Sign palette. The Water Sign I love because of all the gorgeous blue shimmers in this palette. They are really, really beautiful. And then of course I love this Fire Sign palette just because I like the really beautiful like reddish warm tones. I like that it wasn't just a boring warm tone. I love that you have these gorgeous deep reds. So definitely my favorite. I'm pretty impressed with these palettes. I definitely think these are some of the better Blackheart Beauty products I've ever tried. So if you are in the market, like I said, check out their website. I will link it down below. And if it's not on their website at the time, give your nearest store a call to see if they have them in stock. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And of course, don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.